Hi there, cozy fans. Welcome back to the reading of A History of Murder. Today we're going to be on chapter 24, If the Tables Were Turned. But before we get started, I have just a couple of announcements. As I'm recording today, this is Halloween weekend 2021, and I just wanted to remind you that with the Christmas and holiday season coming up, the present predicament would be a wonderful stocking stuffer. It's available as a paperback on Amazon. It's also available in ebook form. So think about that. Think about following along with the Jericho Falls characters and on a little Christmas adventure. And if you remember last week when we read chapter 23 of A History of Murder, Chloe went to Lakeview, which is a nearby, it's a little bigger city, and she had a tag-along, which was Anthony. They spoke with Art McMillan's old boss and learned some interesting things. It also clued Anthony in on the fact that Art was looking for little old ladies to take their money, and this makes Chloe nervous because she just really doesn't want to draw any attention to Grandma Lily right now. Then when they left the restaurant, Chief Garner was sitting there by their vehicle. So that's where we're going to pick up now. Chapter 24, If the Tables Were Turned. The midday sunshine made the police chief's blonde hair glisten. He was back in uniform and looking as handsome as ever. Butterflies flitted around inside me, but I wasn't sure whether they came from simply seeing him or knowing that he would be asking some difficult questions. He approached us, adjusting his leather belt filled with all his policeman necessities. "Good afternoon," he said ceremoniously. "I wasn't expecting to see you two in Lakeview." Anthony put an arm around my shoulder. "We're out for some sightseeing," he said. "Shut up, Anthony." Chief Garner's eyes narrowed. "Hello, Anthony." Was there a sneer in his tone? Anthony gave a single nod. "Chief?" Garner's gaze fell on me. "Tell me what you're really doing here." Anthony squeezed me closer. "As I said, we came to hang out at the marina, just two old friends catching up." Garner's jaw clenched. "I see. So your spontaneous trip here has nothing to do with Art McMillan's murder?" "No connection at all," Anthony blurted. My stomach clenched at his lie. I took one step towards Chief Garner and away from Anthony's embrace, situating myself in neutral territory. "Anthony is only trying to protect me, Chief. We did come here because of Art. He used to work at Fabiani's." "And?" said the Chief. I told Garner that we spoke with the owner, Mr. Fabiani, but I relayed only the basics, that Art didn't work there for long because he found a new job and resigned. "I came to speak with Mr. Fabiani myself," said Chief Garner, clearly perturbed that I had bested him. "He's at the restaurant now," said Anthony, "if you want to go see him." Anthony yanked my hand and pulled me toward our car. Chief Garner watched us. Before I got into the driver's seat, he said, "We'll talk soon, Chloe." Then he turned and walked up the block. Once in the car, I rubbed my hands together and then on my upper arms. I wasn't cold, but I had a serious case of the chills. There was something about Garner's comment that bothered me, like he was making an ominous prediction. It was promising that the chief was following up on other leads, but at the same time, I knew that he was about to find out that Art scammed old women. Would it add to the suspicion of my grandma? "Are we just going to sit here?" Anthony teased. "Oh, sorry." I started the engine and carefully eased out of the space we were wedged into. Anthony was oddly quiet on the return trip. I was grateful for the silence, using the time to contemplate the things I'd learned at Fabiani's, but also a little suspicious. Where was the chatty, outgoing man who had weaseled his way into accompanying me to Lakeview? Where were the assumptions I expected him to voice that Art was probably trying to con Grandma Lily out of her money? For whatever reason, his affect had changed. As I pulled into the driveway of Jericho House, I saw a man on the front porch. This time, it was none other than the older White brother, Blake. First one, then the other. What were the White boys up to? Blake walked down the steps to meet us while glaring at Anthony incredulously. "Why are you with Chloe?" Anthony returned a scowl. "Calm down. Lo and I went for a drive." "Don't call her that," Blake ordered. Anger swelled in my chest, as if either of them had a claim to me. And as far as I was concerned, Blake had lost all right to use my nickname when he blamed Christy's suspicious death on me. I ignored him completely. "Thanks for your help, Anthony. It was fun," I said. "Anytime, Lo." I could see Blake seething at my interaction with his younger brother. He took a step in Anthony's direction with his chest puffed. I stepped between the brothers and put a hand on each of their shoulders. "Knock it off, you two. You're acting like children." "Yeah, back off, Blake," Anthony agreed. "What's the big deal?" "Does Bree know about your afternoon with Chloe?" Blake asked, glaring at Anthony. I had to intervene. "We went on a simple errand. That's it." I hoisted my backpack onto one shoulder and gestured towards the front door. "Now, unless there's something I can help you with, Blake, I'm going inside." Blake softened his tone. "I wanted to see you. I felt bad about how we left things yesterday." "Really? How about 13 years ago?" "And I wanted to check on your grandmother, too. I've been really worried about her," Blake added. "I'm going to get back to work," Anthony said, retrieving his briefcase from the little car, "and leave Mr. Wonderful to do his thing. Chloe, it's been a pleasure." Blake watched his brother walk away. "Why are you hanging out with him?" I glared. "As if it's any of your business." "Chloe, he's engaged to Bree." "I'm aware," I said, "and Bree has nothing to worry about. Anthony and I are just friends." "Maybe she doesn't have to worry about you, but you're not the only girl in town." I hated the sound of that. I didn't want to think that Anthony would hurt sweet, bouncy Bree. Could anyone as naive and innocent as she was live through a broken heart? "Trust me, stay away from him," Blake ordered. "Trust you?" I said with an ironic chuckle. "You know, we haven't spoken in 13 years, Blake, but you keep acting like nothing has changed." "In some ways, nothing has. Not for me, anyway." I marched towards the porch steps. I couldn't have this conversation. Blake caught up with me. "I'd still like to see Lily." "Please, leave us alone." He wouldn't take no for an answer. "I'll make it quick. I just want to tell her I'm here for her." I wanted Blake out of my sight, but Grandma Lily needed all the support she could get. I sighed. "All right, come in." The only hint that Grandma noticed us as we entered was a little lift of her eyebrows to say hi. She stood at the base of the staircase, telling a middle-aged couple the history of Jericho House. I got a warm feeling listening to her well-rehearsed words. While she must have given this speech thousands of times, her voice was always genuine, loving. But great, until she was free, I would have to entertain Blake. I let him try to make awkward chit-chat with me for a while, feeling more uncomfortable and guilty by the minute. He truly was being kind to both Grandma Lily and me. After an exceptionally long silence, I spoke. "How are your parents?" I asked. "Still doing lots of golfing?" "You remember that?" he said, sounding pleased. "Of course. They took us along to that tournament in Lakeview. You snuck us each a glass of champagne at the trophy ceremony." He stared at me. I was the first one to look away. "Have you seen the kitchen renovation?" I asked awkwardly, beckoning him to follow. We went down the hallway quietly so as not to disturb Grandma and her guests. In the kitchen, I filled the tea kettle while Blake surveyed the improvements. "The remodel looks great," he said. I nodded. Grandma made smart choices. It feels old, but has all the amenities of a new kitchen. I was in the process of gathering tea bags, cups, and a few cookies. I turned, intending to open the refrigerator for the milk, but as I did, I found myself inches from Blake. "I'm sorry," he said. I came to help. We both backed away. I placed the teapot and cups on the kitchen island. We pulled up stools and served ourselves. When we had each eaten a cookie, sipped a cup of tea, and talked about every safe subject I could think of, Grandma was still guiding the tour. That couple must have a lot of questions, I laughed nervously. Yes, and I should be getting back to the office, but at least I have a good excuse to come back. Oh, he was coming back? You don't have to do that. You're busy. With the Founders' Day celebration this week, you must have a million things to do. We were walking back down the hall towards the front door. Speaking of that, are you coming to the Founders' Day ball? He asked. I doubt it. If I'm honest, I'd like to be long gone by then. Well, I hope you'll come if you're still in Jericho Falls. He reached out as if he wanted to shake hands. I obliged, but instead of shaking my hand, he held it gently. I mean, Jedediah Martin was a town founder after all. You're practically a guest of honor. I removed my hand from his and made my mouth form a professional grin. We'll see, I said. I put my arm out, motioning towards the door. Listen, Chloe. He was almost speaking in a whisper now. I want to tell you that I'm sorry for what I did. I knew that you didn't hurt Christy, so I didn't think there was any real risk. If I had known the police would take it that far, his voice faltered. For once, I looked him firmly in the eye. I don't want to talk about it. He looked at his shoes, then back at me. I understand. I'm not sure I would be able to forgive you if the tables were turned. He opened the door and left. The difference is, I said to Jed and Elliot, I wouldn't have needed his forgiveness because I never would have lied in the first place. Alone at last, I made a beeline to my bedroom upstairs. Elliot and Jed patted after me. I sat on the bed with a fluffy, frilly pillow behind me. I opened up my phone and began an internet search. I typed Lakeview, Vandenberg. I watched as the screen filled with the results. At least 10 articles popped up with a variety of headlines, such as Local Attorney Dead at 59, Vandenberg, Ambulance Chaser, George Vandenberg volunteers at local sporting event, Lawyer charged with domestic violence, Vandenberg family donates to worthy cause. It seemed that depending on who you asked, George Vandenberg was either a villain or a hero. I put my head back against the cool pillow after closing my phone. I was absolutely drained. How am I ever going to figure this out? I said to the animals. Elliot jumped up on the bed and meowed to console me. I rubbed his ears and asked, Do you know how Art died, kitty? He meowed again and began to purr. It was soothing, like he was telling me to relax. So I did. I closed my eyes and took a long, deep breath and thought about all the players in this strange drama. Elliot continued to purr as I massaged the back of his neck. Jed snored on the rug nearby. If we can just figure out who did this, everything will be okay, I said to them. My thoughts exactly, a deep voice said from the hall. I yelped, and Elliot dashed under the bed. All right, that does it for chapter 24. I hope you enjoyed that. Please remember that the thumbs up is so important. If you enjoy the videos, it helps other people find my channel and hear about the story. I thank all of you so much who leave comments, and it just means so much to me. If you want to learn more about me, remember to look down in the description. And until next time, chapter 25. Bye-bye.